Okay, it's Tuesday. It's June 4th. This thing arrived, what was it, Friday evening, May 31st, I think. Pretty sure. It's Tuesday, June 4th. This thing arrived, I believe it was Friday evening. And I tuned it up. Had to tune it from 0. And Saturday, the 1st, it started to hold its tune. Now on Tuesday, it's holding its tune pretty well. Pretty well. But this side, Now as you can see, this left side, the strings here on the left side, are a half step above the same colored strings. Like the left blue is a half step above the right blue. The left red is a half step above the left red. So here's an F chord on the right side, and here's an F sharp chord on the left side. That's not too badly out of tune. Not too bad. It's getting there. And I've been just playing a little bit, starting to experiment with how to deal with the sharps and flats. And I'm learning it on my own through discovery. Probably most of what I'm learning has already been known for centuries by players of this instrument. And if I went and researched or took lessons somehow, I would find that the things I'm discovering on my own have been known for a long time and passed down, but I'm learning them for myself, discovering them for myself, and I think there's a satisfaction in that. There's an element of laziness. I'm just too lazy to go and study what someone else has taught. But on the other hand, there's an element of laziness of people who think they don't have to find out for themselves. They can just absorb what someone else has already discovered. There's an element of laziness to that too. And I think there's an advantage to finding out on your own things. And then when you find that other people have already known this for centuries, you will feel, yes, they knew it, but they discovered the same basic truths that I've discovered on my own. So there's something to that. So some of the basic truths that I'm just, and of course, even if only a small percentage, even if only 10% or 1% of what I discover might be something that nobody else has actually learned or discovered or figured out on their own. It's likely that maybe 1% of what I find from experimenting are notions that nobody else has figured out, or if anybody else did figure it out once upon a time, they never wrote it down. So there's still no place to go and find it other than figuring it out for yourself. And mostly the thing is to figure out is how do you position your fingers to play the sharps and flats together with the regular notes, so you can shift, have chord changes and things like that shift out of key. I'm beginning to discover, and I've got number one. I'm going to start with 1, the rule of thumb. Because what happens is the sharps and flats are in the upper half for the left hand and the lower half for the right hand. Since the natural position for the thumb is to be up, then having the sharps and flats on the left hand played by the thumb is perfectly natural. It makes sense for your left hand to play sharps and flats with the thumb. But it makes no sense for the right hand, because for the right hand it's upside down. And for you to, unless you're playing only that, but then if you're only playing sharps and flats, you wouldn't need to use the thumb. If you need to use the thumb on the right hand for playing sharps and flats, it's because your other fingers are being used with other notes. Now, if the other notes that the other fingers are playing are also on the sharps and flats half of the strings, then that's not a problem. You just shift, it's like shifting, it's the same position. But if the highest note is a sharp and a flat, usually the highest note will be your thumb because it's the first one to your right. If the highest note is a sharp and a flat, and the other notes, or at least one of the other notes, is a natural note, then you end up with this acrobatic, nearly impossible sort of contortion of your. You have to be a bit of a digital contortionist to be able to play with your arm, with your hand upside down like that. It doesn't really work. So the first rule of thumb that I'm discovering in my own formulation of rules for myself how to do this. First rule of thumb is the right thumb should almost never play. In general, the right thumb should not play the sharps and flats, which are lower. You reserve your right thumb for the natural notes. Just the C natural, the key of C. That's my rule of thumb. The left thumb, no problem. They can play. Left thumb can play all the sharps and flats. And so here's the thing. Ordinarily, the position of the hands is in order, so that the lower notes are played by from the last fingers, and the higher notes are played by the thumb on both hands. On a piano, it's different because you're facing it, but it's one way with one hand and one way with the other. But on the harp, on both hands, the thumb is usually playing the higher notes of that hand. So if the higher note, but now because the rule of thumb is that the right thumb shouldn't play sharps and flats, if the highest note of a chord, or note that you're playing with your right hand, is a sharp or a flat, then there's a shift. Then instead of turning your hand upside down to try to play it, this is my new theory, which is probably an old theory for cross-strung harpists, but I'm discovering it, I'm fumbling about and finding it out for myself. That if the highest note is a sharp or a flat, which since you have to reach down for it, that either the pinky finger, which is usually not used at all on the harp, or the last finger, or possibly the middle finger, should be the one playing the highest note. So here's where I'm just finding this out for myself just today, that if you're playing a chord or notes that include both natural and sharp and flat, both white keys and black keys, and the highest note is one of the black keys, then there's going to be a rotation of the hand, where the thumb is no longer going to be the highest note. The highest note might be the pinky or the fourth finger, and that's what I'm going to now begin practicing to be able to play all these different chords. So here we have key of C, no sharps and flats. You can see a natural C chord is just very simple and straightforward. The fingers go in proper sequence from low to high. F chord, same thing. G chord, same thing. But there's three chords that have one sharp or one flat. There's the D chord, one sharp. The D chord, the E chord, and the A chord, major chords, each have one sharp. The middle note is sharp because in the key of C, these three chords are minor chords. D minor, E minor, and A minor. But to make them major, you have to make it F sharp, and G sharp, and C sharp. So here it is. Here's a D minor chord. But now, what if I want a D major chord? I need this blue string, which with the right hand will be lower. So I'm not playing this F natural, I have to play this F sharp. And here's where I shift. Okay, so it's sort of like people that play crosshand lessons for piano players. At a certain point, they have to cross one hand over to do the higher notes for whatever reason, because it's the continuation of the two separate counterpoints of the two hands. And this is similar. This is cross finger. This is a cross finger technique where, because of the sharps and flats, it becomes necessary for the lower fingers to cross over and be higher than the middle or the first finger. This is my theory. And my name is Ann Elk. I am not an elk. I am Ann Elk. Okay, so this is a normal, natural, sequential finger position for the D minor chord as well as the C major chord, but to substitute a F sharp for the F natural, I have to do my cross finger technique where I'm rotating the hand so that the last finger is actually not the lowest note. There's the F sharp. Here's F natural. Alright, so there we go. So to rotate from a D natural, D minor chord to a D major chord, I believe I'm going to have to rotate the hand. So here I have D, F, A, D in sequence, but now I have to rotate so that the last finger can reach lower to the F sharp. So now the F natural, the middle finger, which is playing the F natural in the D minor chord, now becomes the low note of the chord and has to take over to play the D, while the lowest note the lowest finger that was playing the D has to rotate up to play the F sharp because F sharp is lower. This is probably something that cross-strung harps have known for centuries, but I'm just discovering it on my own. So here I'm shifting to shift from a D minor chord. Now I reverse the fourth and third finger strings. So here's if I shift the third finger down to D, and now the fourth finger rotates down to be able to reach the F sharp. So here's a whole different finger, what's the word? Configuration. Here's a whole different finger, or I'll call it configuration. I just made up a new word. I would bet you that I just coined that word, configuration. Okay, so different configuration. Here's a normal configuration of the D minor chord, and now I rotate a configuration so that the last finger can reach down for the F sharp. So now I have D, F sharp, A, and D. See there? So this is, I got the number 1 rule of thumb, number 2 configuration, and then back for D minor. So here is going to be the little tricky movement of the rotation of the reversal, the switching of places of the third and the fourth finger will become a sort of something you'll have to exercise, I believe. And then configure it. Now let's configure it into a major chord. There we go. Now here's a question: could you do the same configuration with the D minor chord instead of going back to this position? Continue to have the third and fourth fingers reversed in their position? I believe you can. Alright, so we might start to get in the habit with this of having a slightly different configuration for even a natural chord where it's only on one row of strings. Here's a C major chord with the reversal of the third and fourth fingers. We'll have to see how easy this is to get accustomed to doing, because it might actually be on this instrument better to get in the habit of regularly playing a major a chord with this configuration rather than this one, because that way when you switch to the major, when you switch to the other one where you have to reach down lower for the other section, the black notes, then it won't be as much of a switch. So let's see. Here's a D minor chord with the reversed position of the third and fourth fingers. Not too bad. Take a little getting used to, but now if you want to switch up to a D major chord, you just have to go a little lower so that the fourth finger can reach down. Alright, so a little sliding up and sliding down. It's still going to take some getting used to doing this though. But it might make more sense to get in the habit of using that as your regular configuration, so that if you have to slide down, it will be a simpler move. It's kind of like the sensation of playing a guitar where you have a, oh, you know what it is, where you've got the top finger is acting like a capo on the frets, and then you can slide up a half step. It's just kind of a sliding movement. Try it one more time. D minor. Now just shift down half a step. D major. No, come on. The other blue string. There we are. Anyhow, that's enough of that. That's what I'm experimenting with, getting used to doing these things. Diddly diddly diddly. I'm done with saying la-di-da, so I'm just going to say I'm done. I'm done.